Hey everybody, welcome. We are down to our final Xray training that we're going to be doing here as part of our getting certified for Xray partnership. And so this is all about jobs triggering, and I'm not really sure what to expect here. I'm assuming that this is not going to be in our CI/CD tools and actually making the automation happen so that all the Xray and testing stuff just magically happens, because at the end of the day you do not want to be sitting through this stuff and firing things off manually. You want these things to happen in a semi-autonomous manner. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like. And again, this is our last of our Xray certification series. We are going to be coming back with more live streams though, folks. We're going to be coming back, I believe, with Red Hat is the next one. And so again, make sure you're being subscribed to the channel here. And I am already in communications with Xray, so we are going to be doing some more like webinar style and some more technical trainings and tutorials for y'all. So hope you're enjoying the Xray content. Let's talk about jobs triggering for Xray Data Center. So before you begin, again, this is an Xray exclusive enterprise feature, enterprise being the keyword, and you do need both Xray and you need Xray enterprise, and this is for data center. So again, I don't know if this capability exists in the cloud, but just know that this is for data center. We're going to understand the logic and configuration of remote job triggering functionality. We're going to see end-to-end how to trigger jobs in our CI/CD tools and learn how to send the results back to Xray after triggering a job. So a little bit of content here is remote jobs triggering overview, setting up your remote jobs triggering, running the remote jobs, and then some end-to-end examples using Jenkins and GitHub. So why use remote job triggering? Very important question. Most pipelines are triggered by a commit action, but sometimes we have the necessity to trigger a remote job to perform some action, such as validating a change in a specific feature, validating a new deployment or new environment, validating new tests on the fly, or running some automation from Xray test plan or test execution. So what exactly is remote job triggering? So remote job triggering is the ability to start a job directly from an Xray entity, like a test plan or a test execution. Xray is agnostic to the logic implemented on the remote job, giving you the flexibility to implement whatever you like. The remote job can perform all sorts of tasks, including building, deploying the project to an environment, and or running automated tests. And most common use case is to trigger the execution of an automated test. So what exactly is a remote jobs triggering main feature? So it's to start the execution of a job from an Xray issue. So the trigger is going to build on the CI/CD tool without leaving Xray, improving tester performance and streamlining the workflow. It's going to pass information to the build, such as the issue key of the test execution plan. It's supported with Jenkins, Bamboo, GitHub, GitLab, and Azure DevOps. I am very surprised that Bitbucket isn't in here. I would have expected Bitbucket because, well, I guess in the data center world, Bamboo is the Bitbucket. So maybe I'm not too surprised now. And you can have multiple remote triggers management. So results are not pushed back to Xray automatically, but it's implementable. So what's the process? So we're going to set up in our CI/CD tool, we're going to create a job on the target CI/CD tool and configure the authentication for remote triggering. Then we're going to set up a remote trigger configuration in the Jira project, which is then going to trigger the remote job on the target CI/CD tool from a test plan or test issue. So to set up in CI/CD and an Xray is done once as part of the preparations to start using remote triggering. Next up, we're going to go to a little slow today. Come on, Jira, you can do this. Hello. We got our first customer. Xray is being a little slow today. I'm not sure what's going on. I should have moved over to the next slide by now. Hopefully I'm coming in okay, folks. I know my internet was having some troubles yesterday, but I think we're good today. All right, so how do we actually set up some job triggering? So we're going to go to this project settings of a space, and we're going to access the remote jobs trigger, which is going to be under the Xray settings. And then you're going to choose from the list of available configuration options that are going to appear. So you're going to choose the one that you want to use. And Sean says I'm coming in 2020, so that's good. So you'll enable whichever one you want. Again, this is going to be respective of whatever CI/CD tool you're using. So make sure you turn on the right one. And then you're going to click on the button for the new tool configuration, which is going to pop up once you enable it. In this case, we're going to go with Jenkins. And then from here, we're going to create a new Jenkins configuration, and you're going to give it some name. And once you pass all the context, right, so we're going to give it some parameters like the issue key, the project key, the test key, the user who's triggering the build, the key of the project, the comma separating the string of test keys, part of the issue, right? So we give it all this for information, and then I'm assuming we're going to be able to then do our trigger. So that was the setup. Now we actually want to do it. So how do you run it? So remote job triggers feature can trigger jobs from two issue types, either the test plan or the test execution. Once all is configured, you can start a remote job in a detailed page of the test plan. And so there's going to be a trigger button right here that we're going to be able to set the trigger. And so, or you can start the remote job in the detail page of the test execution, which is still going to have the trigger build part. And so all you need to do is click on that button and accept that we're going to do this. And that's it. Like the job gets triggered. It's interesting. I would have expected this to have come from your CI/CD tool more. Like I would have expected the trigger to just be part of like your nightly build or something. I'm a little surprised that it's coming in from the actual like test plan or test execution itself. For this course, we will assume the role of a QA engineer working on an e-commerce company. Our task is to test the new authentication functionality. The team has pipelines defined that will be triggered automatically when a commit happens and ship results back to Xray for proper visibility. We're working in the new authentication functionality and have defined automated tests to validate it. The development team will deploy this feature in an environment, and after manual validations, we want to launch the automated test again in that environment and centralize the test results. So we have two examples that we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at Jenkins, and then we're going to look at GitHub. So let's jump into the first one and see what these look like. So our Jenkins example, and I need to get rid of some of these pop-ups. In this example, we're going to use Jenkins, a Jenkins file, declare the pipeline to define the pipeline, and a plugin to ship the results back to Xray. So we're going to configure the new remote job trigger for Jenkins in Xray. We're going to do the trigger, and then we're going to push the results back into Xray. So the pipeline is defined by a Jenkins file. Confirm that the parameters in the Jenkins file are added. The build is defined as a parameterized, and make sure that regardless of the test results, we send the report to Xray. The API token is going to be available for your project configuration page. Click on the configure button on your page and then define your token in the build triggers, trigger builds remotely section. So you're just going to put your token in here and make sure the tokens in each side match. Fill the Jenkins configuration with the values for your installation. Notice that we have added two parameters, project key and test plan key. These are filled with the respective keys and passed to the remote job. So we're going to fill out all the information like we normally would in Jenkins, but the key part is that we're going to be sending two variables in from Jira. And now we're going to watch a video to see how to actually do that. All right, let me pause the audio. And this is a big one, so let's see what they're doing here. We're inside of a Jira space. We're going to go to the space settings. Let me see if I can move my mouse to stop that thing from happening. All right, perfect. We're going to scroll down to the Xray settings, and we want to go to the remote jobs trigger. Once we're in the remote job trigger, we're going to want to enable whichever CI/CD tool we want, but in this case, it should be Jenkins because that's the example we're building out of. We'll click on the new Jenkins configuration button, and then we're going to give it a name. And so again, you're going to want to fill it out the way we just saw that example. So you fill out the name, you fill out all the options that are in here, right? The job name, the API token. Well, I fast forwarded too much, right? You put everything in there. Then you're going to go into Jenkins, right? Once it's all configured, you're going to Jenkins and you're going to see that we have a new job here, or at least that's where we're grabbing the API token from. And so let me fast forward through the token. And we'll hit configure in Jenkins. Man, it's been a minute since I've seen the Jenkins configuration. We'll double check that the triggers are the same, or the tokens are the same. And we'll come back, paste it all in there. We got our username. In this case, we're going to do admin. We'll get the API URL. That's going to be unique to your guys' environment, your password. And then this is where we're going to add those two extra parameters from Xray so that Jenkins knows what values we're sending in from Xray. Okay, so then we're ready to go into our Jenkins file. And inside of our Jenkins file, you can see that the information, specifically those parameters we just created, they got sent in. So those are there. Awesome. And I think that's pretty much it. We're ready to just add configuration. It's all been made for us and we're good to go. That's easy. So that's now ready. The handshake is there so we can actually do the running. And so now to do it, you're going to trigger it, right? You're going to go into the test execution or the test plan based on those two options that are available to us. We'll click on that button, which is then going to give us this pop-up message showing us the status of the trigger, whether it's a success or a failure. And then that's it. So now we got to see a video on how to actually do those steps that we just did. So let's go to that. All right, got to get rid of these and I got to beat the sound. All right, so in 28 seconds or less, we're going to go open up one of our test plans. In this case, it's going to be C6. It's a test plan. And you're going to see that we have a trigger build section inside of this new Xray section, right? And so we'll be able to, come on, go to the trigger build and then fire it away. And because we've already done the handshake, because the code and everything in Jenkins is all correct, this is now just going to run and then we'll see the successful run there. So now that those are done, we can do the results. So the results are not going to be automatically shipped back to Xray. To achieve that, we have added a new stage in our Jenkins file. So this is a new step that we got to add to make sure that the information comes back. So you may want to copy paste this code to a certain degree, right? And then once you do that, the results are going to get pushed back into Xray, and we're going to be able to view those results inside of Xray. So let's see a video on what that one looks like. Okay, so as you can see here, we don't have anything for our test execution, but we're gonna go in and import, we're gonna add a stage. Okay, so we're adding our stage here right below our success or fail. And we're gonna be referencing the project key and the test plan key. So that's where those variables were important. We have them referenced inside of that stage, inside of our Jenkins file. And then when we run, right, so we're going to have a run here real quick. You're going to see that eventually it's going to give us a confirmation that we pushed into Jira. There it is. So it's Xray is importing the results into this particular test plan, CE23. And now when we go into CE23, actually it's interesting because we're in CE6. So I guess we got a refresh. There you go. A quick refresh. And then it'll tell us what passed or failed. And I guess the execution is now CE23. So as you can see, that's the only way to get those information from Xray or Jenkins back into Xray, which is something, folks, you're going to want to do. I'm actually quite surprised that this isn't the default setting. If I was Xray, I would do that as the default, because like, who doesn't want to see the results of their work? I can't imagine a scenario where you wouldn't want to see that. Okay, so that was Jenkins. So now we're going to basically do the exact same thing. So I'm going to power through this one a little bit more. But now these are in GitHub. So in GitHub, we're going to have a workflow defined where we add the workflow dispatch event. Two inputs are going to be given, the same two, which is the test key, text execution key, and the project key. And then we're going to add this continue on error true to add a step that executes the test to make sure that we send the report back. And so you'll do very similar, right? We're going to add that connection. We're going to make all those, fill out all the data we need so that Xray and Jira can talk to each other, and GitHub. And then we're going to go in and actually run the execution. So let's go look at a video where we're going to actually run through this execution here. Move this out of the way, go on mute. All right. So inside of our Jira, we're going to go back to our project settings. We're going to go back to the Xray settings here on the left-hand side, go to the remote job trigger. And this time we want to enable GitHub, because that's the example that we're trying to do this time. From here, we're going to click on that new GitHub configuration. And again, I'll kind of fast forward through this, folks, but you're basically teeter-tottering back and forth between Xray and GitHub so that you can get all the information that you want, right? And so they're just going to Can go through all this information here, and you're just copying settings, tokens, variables. You're just grabbing them, and you just have to go through the basic. Just make sure the data is the same, because if they're not, then you're going to run into some problems. Okay. And so we're just adding those variables again. We're going to add the project key and the text execution key. And we're going to make sure that on the GitHub side, everything looks good on that side as well. And we want to modify our files here so that everything's, again, matching up with what we're putting into Xray. Because if you don't have them, right, if something's missing, then this thing's not going to work correctly, right? So here we can have the workflow dispatch, where we're going to put things back inside of, well, actually, I don't think that this is the part to do that yet, but we're getting there. We're almost there. All right, so now we're going to go trigger the job. So same thing, right? Because instead of doing Jenkins, this time we're going to be doing GitHub. But it's the same thing, right? We gave it a name, and we just click the same button, and it's just going to successfully either run or it's going to fail catastrophically. And so here it is doing the execution. You're just going to pick your test plan or your test execution. Both are going to work. In this case, we're looking at the test execution. We're going to go to the trigger build section. As you can see, there's nothing else happening here. We're going to run this, and then it's going to just fire off because we've already done all the handshakes. Everything is kind of configured, and that's it. So now we can go into GitHub and make sure that it's sending the information back. So those results, again, are not going to be automatically shipped unless you add this code back into the workflow inside of GitHub. And so when we do that, then we're going to be able to get that data back. So let's go take a look at what this looks like in GitHub. So we're going to make our way over to our node. Let's see where we're at, the main.yaml. And we're going to scroll down to the section here that's going to import the results back into Xray. So highly recommend you copy this. Again, tweak it to your specific settings, but you're going to want to copy this to a certain degree. Make sure your test keys and project keys and all that are valid, and that they're the right ones that you need. And then we're going to be able to actually do the run, right? So now we have the pass, and so we can see that the results from our execution, we're going to basically bring them back here. And now that data is inside of Xray. So yay, that's really good. We wanted that. All right, if you want to learn more on this stuff, you're just going to be able to go to these links. Again, if you go and take any of these in their Xray Academy, you'll be able to see all the different links. But as you can see, there's 2 examples here with Jenkins and GitHub. And then let's start a quick survey here. This is actually going to be a pretty fast one. I thought it was going to take a full hour, but I guess I'm going to be able to go to lunch. We'll give this one an 8. I think this one was a little bit better than yesterday's, a lot easier. And then we'll hit submit and next. And then we just want to complete our unit. We want to make sure our boss knows that we finished it up. So download our certificate. And folks, that's it. I am completely done with all the Xray stuff here. And so now all I need to do is take a test. It's 30 minutes, 20 questions. And so I'm going to go take that test, and I'll let you know if I pass or fail. Hopefully I pass, because I need to pass. I haven't failed them yet, so I don't know if I can retake them, but I'm hoping I can retake them if I do fail. But that's pretty much it, folks. Again, hit the subscribe button, because we're going to be coming back. We're done with Xray for now. I did mention at the beginning, we do have a new partnership with Xray because we're passing the certificates. So we're bumping up in levels, and then Xray has already reached out to me. They want to do some extra videos with us. So we're going to be collaborating on some new videos. So expect some more technical content coming very soon. I want to definitely jump in and do more example-based videos so that y'all have a better understanding of how to use Xray much better. All right. So again, subscribe. We will be doing a lot more videos, but we are going to continue live streams in Red Hat next. So hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you, everybody.